at sunrise, chanting, dancing to his name. Hari Bol, Hari Bol. He would wake up everyone, rise and rejoice to the name.
Jaya Jaya Sri Caitanya, Jaya Nityananda, Jaya Sri Advaita Chandra, Jaya Gaura Bhaktavinda, Jaya Jaya Sri Caitanya, Jaya Nityananda, Jaya Sri Advaita Chandra, Jaya Gaura Bhaktavinda. Govinda Lilamrita, Krishna Das Kaviraja. Then they anointed Srimati Radharani. Then they anointed Srimati Radharani. His hair. And splendid limbs. With fragrant ground amalaka, and then using clean silk washcloths. Oh my Lord. And abundant streams of water washed them, dipping golden cups into golden water pots, and pouring the scented waters on her body. The gopis bathed Srimati Radharani. Then they dried her limbs and hair with fine silk towel and dressed her in exquisite garments. In the dressing room, the gopis decorated her with ornaments suitable for the early morning. In the dressing room, the gopis decorated her with ornaments suitable for the early morning. She appeared as graceful and as beautiful as a youthful and amorous goddess of fortune. She appeared as graceful and as beautiful as a youthful and amorous goddess of fortune. Lalita then dried her glistening, curling hair with fragrant incense, smoke, and combined it with the jewel-toothed comb named Svastita. Lalita decorated Radharani's hair with bakula flowers. Lalita decorated Radharani's hair with bakula flowers. Strings of pearls, strings of pearls. And splendid jewel that Krishna had taken from Sankhachuta. Lalita fixed her braids and tied them with a ribbon and decorated them with gold and jeweled ornaments and red flower blossoms. Chitra then dressed Srimati Radharani in a red garment sewn with gold and rubies. Chitra then dressed Srimati Radharani in a red garment sewn with gold and rubies. And above that she placed a silk garment named Megha Hambara, which is as splendid as a swarm of bumblebees. Over this garment hung 2 tight braids of curling hair, tied with ribbons and decorated with gold and 2 red flowers. Then upon Srimati Radharani's hips, she placed a 5-colored sash decorated with jewels. Then upon Srimati Radharani's hips, she placed a 5-colored sash decorated with jewels. There were clusters of flowers at its ends, and there were small bells on a golden string. Vishaka then anointed Srimati Radharani's black arms. Vishaka then anointed Srimati Radharani's back, arms, and breasts with camphor, aguru, kumkum, sandalwood. With a steady hand, Vishaka drew the decorations known as Kamayantra on Srimati Radharani's forehead, on her temples extending down to her cheeks. She drew designs and pictures in musk, and everywhere she placed sandalwood dots. She painted many moons in musk and sandalwood, and she placed a thick line of red sindura in the part of Srimati Radharani's hair. Using musk paste, Chitra then drew bunches of flowers, crescent moon lotuses, dolphins, and mango blossoms on Srimati Radharani's breasts. Bolina says, "Why are you crying?" Bolina, I'm sorry to laugh, but this is where Krishna consciousness has come to this level, and to the level of understanding, not understanding why are we crying, and I'm reading about Radharani and all the books, and thank you for asking that question, because it's a great question, important question, because this is what Krishna consciousness is really about. It is relishing mellows, devotional mellows. That's why. Because devotees, believe it or not, are not supposed to just naturally cry when they chant Hare Krishna mantra, when devotion is awakened in the heart. And so we're here. It's our great privilege and pleasure to teach the devotees, the birds and the bees, about what is real devotional service above chanting without crying. Because when you chant and cry is when you're really doing devotional service. And it's called cultivation, comes with the tears. See? But this is a great shock for most devotees. They don't understand these things. And so we're here to try to help them understand what is real devotional service above just doing devotional service inspired by rules and regulations. This is devotional service inspired by ras, inspired by relish, taste, the best. This is why Lord Chaitanya came here. If you come in here, you'll learn why Lord Chaitanya and Radha Krishna came to this planet. They came to taste mellows, and they came to teach us how to taste mellows. And for 500 years, this has been more or less lost, because none of the acharyas recently have been teaching this, but we are teaching this. This is what I've been ordered by Prabhupada to do. By example. See, because it gets questions, good question. Why are you crying? Great question. Believe it or not, a lot of devotees don't know. I mean, you could just look at this, analyze it. Like, okay, I'm reading about Krishna Lila. I'm chanting Krishna's name. Okay? So Krishna's name and the Lila is meant to cause the heart to melt with bhakti, with devotion. And the symptoms of that are tears in the eyes, sometimes ecstatic laughter, choking of the voice, relishing these mellows. Okay? So that's what the Lord came, and that's how he taught. He taught by example, and we also teach by the mercy of Lord Chaitanya by example also. So that's great. Thank you very much for asking that good question. I'm going to use this now. This is a new way to worship Krishna, and it's wonderful. Now I'm coming, more into external consciousness, which is good, because it's like Paul taught, because the Holy Spirit was just taught by Jesus. It was different than what they learned in religion with the Pharisees. Same thing, like this is different. This is worshiping the Lord with the spirit of bhakti awakened in the heart, which is in the hearts of everybody, just needs dormant. So Paul also had to do the same kind of thing, teaching the Christians. They didn't know, what is this crying and laughing and whatever else they had manifested. And he said, well, sometimes we're out of our mind for God. So you're in this devotional trance, relishing these wonderful mellows, chanting and hearing. It's like eating food. See, this is eating food, and then proper understanding and realization on the scriptures come, because we're getting deeply purified. This way of purification is 1,000 times more strong, more powerful than just following chanting without the ecstasy. Matter of fact, just by seeing the ecstasy, one is very fortunate on the body of a devotee, because now you get to see what is really real and what is true beyond just, external devotional service. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Hey, so now I'm in my right mind. I was in my right mind, though. Always in your right mind on the devotional path here. Okay. Yeah. Okay, so devotional mellows. So there's two types of bhakti. Now, when I came to Prabhupada in 1980, I didn't have an option. I didn't know there was two levels of devotional service. See, so one level is this Vaidhi Bhakti, which they were teaching. But I was always I was attracted to worship Krishna, not because I was desperate or I just, wanted relief or something. I worship Krishna because I just felt immediately happy being with Prabhupada, immediately happy chanting the holy name. I felt ecstatic. Okay? So and the books too. I was ecstatic on the ecstatic platform, just immediately, like there, just contact. The same thing I had with Jesus Christ in the early 70s. Just immediate contact with the book. I just went into ecstasy. So that was always there, very easily awakened. But there was only Vaidhi Bhakti, which basically, you see, why are you crying? So when I was chanting the first day in the temple room, I just chanted, and I didn't know anything about crying or not crying. I just started chanting, and I started to get really ecstatic and started crying in the temple room. And the temple president came over to me and said, "Why are you crying? This is not right. This is an offense against Krishna, to cry for Krishna." It's really not, but, it's actually even listed in the thing, you shouldn't cry before the deity, but that's silly. It's silly. It's because that's what we're meant to do, ultimately. That's maybe according to some rules and regulations. If you're crying for your father or mother or something, you shouldn't do that. But for crying for Krishna is the greatest pleasure of God. God is more happy if we come to the point of crying for Krishna. He's more happy than the person doing 40 years of sadhana or 25 years of sadhana. And you know how you know that? You can ask those persons like Janaki and Johan who came here, and after 25 years and 40 years of doing sadhana practice and following all the rules, chanting with this ecstasy and this crying they'll probably tell you it's 100 times better, maybe more, maybe 1,000 times better for them. See? So all these things are documented and proven, and the books all confirm this. In Nectar Devotion, Prabhupada says in the techniques of hearing and chanting that we're not even really cultivating devotional service till tears appear in the eyes. And what I've noticed since I've been teaching, those who come here and take what we're doing seriously very quickly develop this tears in the eyes thing, whereas they haven't barely got any of those experiences of tears in the eyes doing 40 years of sadhana, or they had tears of real, like painful material tears, like, oh my God, so hard. So, hope that's making sense there. So just simply by attending these classes here and this chanting here, you can learn more than you learned in 5 or 10 years that you've been in Krishna consciousness, because nobody's ever told you that. It looks like otherwise you would not be asking. This is a confidential truth about Krishna consciousness that's in our books, all over the books. It's everywhere. In Chaitanya Lila, why the Lord came here is to cry and laugh in his relishing mellows. That's why he came here. That's why, it's so attractive that the Lord comes and then he gives us, in disciplic line. When you meet the real guru, this person fits the songbook that you're singing every day, From him, ecstatic prema emanates. See? That means they cry for Krishna, laugh for Krishna, relish mellows. From them, ecstatic prema emanates. By their word, ignorance is destroyed. Even right here, you think, why am I crying for Krishna? Well, that's kind of, you don't know. See, so this dispels the being ignorant of why we should be ultimately in Krishna consciousness. Yeah. This is the highest happiness of the Lord. So one is very fortunate to come here. Yeah. So if you come here regularly, Paulina, I think Paulina Essa or something. If you come here regularly, you'll understand all these things. But if you just come here once and then go away and stuff, then it's a longer thing. But the more you come here, the more you'll understand all these confidential topics. because I've been given the order to share it with the world. So it depends on your greed, depends on your inspiration, how the Lord inspires you in the heart. Yeah. But if you really want to make it to the topmost platform of love of God in this life, you come here, you have the best chance that you can have doing it. Because if you try and do it on your own, it'll take you a heck of a lot longer. Triple, quadruple the time. Here, that's why, what we're doing is to speed up the process. See, you learned something new today. Now you know why a devotee cries. You never knew that before. Obviously, because otherwise, why would you ask a question? You see, person reading the scriptures in an ecstasy is awakening. That's what's supposed to happen, ultimately. That naturally happens when we are in the effective stage of devotional service. Just naturally. Okay. Yeah.